Good evening, and welcome. I'm so thrilled that we have come together today to honor the incomparable Len Rubinowitz, professor of law, on the occasion of his retirement. Len has had such an impact on our law school and beyond. And as evidence, look around this room. So many people who come in today to celebrate Len. And what a wonderful opportunity this is to celebrate such an amazing career. Before we turn to the rest of tonight's celebratory remarks, I'd like to thank the faculty and staff who helped organize today's event. Cindy Wilson, Tiffany Wynn, Sebastian Buyak, Allison Gluth, Gloria Serrano, Nicole Niemi, Suzanne Walker, Diane Miller, and Robin Walker-Sterling. Thank you for your support. And now to the order of the day honoring Len Rubinowitz. Len has been teaching and mentoring our students for the last 54 years. Okay, let's do it. During that time, he has served our community focusing on law and social change, civil rights, and public interest law. And indeed, Len has spent his entire career at the intersection of law and social justice, teaching courses such as law and social change, criminal law, housing and race, the civil rights lawyering seminar, and the public interest practicum. Len's lifelong commitment to public interest law extends to his request to use his retirement announcement to raise additional funds for the Public Interest Center Fund, which will expand the Public Interest Center Fund will expand financial support for students pursuing careers in service and strengthen the center's programming, advising, and alumni community in line with Len's life's work. Len has been one of the most beloved members of our faculty, an inspiring teacher, a devoted mentor, and a leader in advancing justice. Generations of students and alumni, many of whom are here tonight, have been shaped by his wisdom, generosity, and unwavering commitment to civil rights and legal education. I spent a lot of my time speaking with alumni, and so many point out Len as someone who changed their lives, who put them on the paths that got them to where they are today. And as I've said before, the word legend is a word I heard from so many of those alumni when speaking about Len. Naturally, Len was a winner of several teaching awards while at the law school, including the Robert Childress Award, the First Year Course Award, the Small Class Award, the Dean's Teaching Award. If we had more awards, he would have won those as well. Additionally, he was the winner of the Joyce Hughes Legacy Award, awarded to, and I quote, trailblazers whose career paths reflect courage, innovation, determination, dedication, and tenacity. Through their lifelong accomplishments, recipients have influenced the next generation of leaders. So true of Len. Len also won the Leonard J. Schrager Award for Excellence in recognition of his significant and lasting contributions to improving access to justice for the less fortunate in our community. And on a personal note, I have found Len to be one of those people who will always talk to you, who is always there for you. And whenever I take the time to speak with Len or even see him in the hallways, it just makes me feel better. So for my sake, Len, I hope we will be seeing a lot more of you at Northwestern. So please join me once again in congratulating and thanking Len Rubinowitz. It's now my pleasure to invite up my colleague, Robert P. Burns, the William W. Gurley Memorial Professor of Law Emeritus, to say a few more words about Len. Bob?
So Len Rubinowitz joined the faculty in 1975. That's more than 50 years ago, a half century. And to get a sense of it, I like to think that the same number of years separates us from Len's start date, that separates his start date from the early years of Calvin Coolidge's administration in the 1920s. So a long, long time, with much law and social change, both here at the law school and in society at large. So, Len was Phi Beta Kappa in college, an editor at the Yale Law Journal, had a joint appointment at the Center for Urban Affairs, many articles, several books on a core of topics: the courage of civil rights lawyers, housing discrimination, school desegregation. What has he meant here at the law school during those 50 years of law and social change? He's taught thousands of students who have gone on to all kinds of practices. He's voted the Childress Award an unparalleled 4 times, the Small Class Award 7 times. His door was always open, known as a mentor for hundreds. Cura personalis, an older educational tradition called it, concern for the whole person. He has throughout stood for the strange notion that the law has something to do with justice, social justice, racial justice. What did the prophet say, often quoted by Len's icon, Dr. King? Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. So it's not surprising that the students renamed the public interest fellowships the Len Rubinowitz Fellowships. He has been especially central for the students called to a public interest career. He's been an anchor and an inspiration for them. To many students, he was Northwestern Law School. Public interest lawyer Kate Shelton is quoted as saying, "I found support and guidance in Professor Len Rubinowitz," adding that he is very important to all of us. He is very important to all of us here today, and he will remain a countercultural appeal to all our better angels. Next, we'll hear from Professor and public interest lawyer Cindy Wilson.
Hi, everybody. I'm a clinical professor here at the law school in the Bloom Legal Clinic, and I was a student of Len's, and for the last 26 years have had the privilege of being his colleague. There are so many wonderful things to say about Len, but my time is short, so I'm going to focus on 3 legacies of Len. The first is the growth of the public interest community and support for it here at the law school. Many of us have heard Len talk about the small number of public interest students that were here when he first arrived and how it has grown and flourished over the years. What Len doesn't say is that most of that growth and flourishing is due to him. I am willing to bet that every public interest student who has attended Northwestern Law in the last 50 years has been supported by Len. They have sat in that famous chair in his office. They have each left feeling like they have someone in their corner and they have their path forward is just a little bit clearer. He's also helped build institutional support in the form of people and funding, and he always did that work with students. When the students were clamoring for someone to help them with their career search in public interest, Len helped make that happen. When the SPIF wanted to do additional fundraising and a student came up with the idea of an alumni awards dinner, Len helped make that happen. When another student said the law school needs a public interest journal, Len helped make that happen. Today, the law school's public interest center has a full-time staff of 4, including an assistant dean of public interest, a long cry from when Len arrived. We have robust funding for public interest, a pro bono program, a journal, and much more. Those efforts are an important legacy of Len. The second legacy I want to mention is perhaps less visible and less well known. Experiential education, which is in-house clinics, simulation courses, and externship classes, are now a required part of the curriculum for every American law student. Most people here know about Professor Tom Garrity's work to develop and grow the Bloom Legal Clinic. But fewer people know about Len's role in developing the school's model and pedagogy for externship classes, a model that continues today. Back in the 70s and 80s, each individual externship for a student needed to be separately approved by a faculty vote, and there was no academic class that went along with it. The faculty wanted a more thoughtful and pedagogically sound approach to externships. That's where Len came in. He designed the public interest practicum, where students engaged in an externship in a public interest organization accompanied by the seminar. Len designed a course with academic rigor that helped deepen students' understanding of their work, their externships. The Center for Externships now has 10 practicum courses, all modeled using the design created by Len. It will hopefully continue on for decades as a testament to Len's vision and skills as a teacher and as another legacy of Len. The final legacy I want to mention is Len's incredible kindness and his support of students, alumni, faculty, and staff. Len's office is where generations of students and alumni, including me, have gone to vent, laugh, cry, and learn. And now it is our turn to channel our inner Len and carry that legacy forward. If everyone in this room stopped every once in a while to be like Len, we would all be the better for it. So I encourage you to find ways that you can be like Len in your everyday conversations and relationships. I'd like to end with the audience participation part of my remarks. Don't worry, I won't ask you to sing. But I will ask you to repeat 3 simple words. Be like Len. Are you ready? I'll count you down. 3, 2, 1. Be like Len. Thank you. Our next speaker will be Sheldon Zenner.
It's an enormous honor to be invited to speak here at Len's Bar Mitzvah. I was hoping to light a candle, but in 1975, both Len Rubinowitz and I started at Northwestern Law School on the same day. He is a professor, and I is a first-year law student. I had met Len the prior summer when he and I taught at the Center for Urban Affairs. I was Len's first teaching assistant and his worst teaching assistant. With that perspective, let me offer this proposition to you. I believe that no professor in Northwestern's history has done more to inspire students to pursue careers in public service than Len. For over 50 years, Len has been a ray of light, a beacon for all those considering a career in the service of others. From his first class, Law and Social Change, to the myriad of courses that he taught throughout his career, Len led by example. It begins, as most of you know, with the first words of his class, be it in 1975 or in 2026. Please just call me Len. My father was Mr. Rubinowitz. I am not my father, nor do you need to refer to me as Professor Rubinowitz. I'm just Len. And as he began in 1975 and as he is today, soft-spoken, kind, and self-effacing. No roaring arrogance or exaggerated intimidation. It's simply not who he is. With all that Len has accomplished here at Northwestern, he has done it with humility, with gentle grace, with kindness, and with humor. Fun fact, did you know that Len's first published work in the Yale Law Journal, 1967, was entitled, and I quote, "The Birds and the Bees"? Ask him, it's true. If you have questions, he can help you. While recognizing his scholarship, his leadership, his commitment to civil rights, and his devotion to public service, I, like the speakers before me, want to focus on his steadfast willingness to always have an open door, an open mind, and an open heart. When I was a first-year student, I had a rough first year. A particular professor had made me the human sacrifice to his version of the Socratic method in Lincoln Hall in front of all my classmates on the first day of class. I left that class totally defeated. I was convinced I was not cut out to be in law school or to be at this institution, and I went directly to Len's office. What I remember is this: he listened, he respected what I was feeling, and he counseled me. And with Len's help, I survived that day, that professor, and that class. And without Len, I really don't know what I would have done. But what I do know is that the carpet in Len's office is well worn by the tracks of students like me, questioning their abilities, unsteady in their resolve, worrying about their careers. Len soothes their nerves. He gives them the courage to get up off the floor and to come back the next day. He has helped so many students, not only to get through law school, but to forge extraordinary careers. In that respect, Len's impact on society through the good works of his students is his extraordinary legacy. His impact on the world is greater than we can ever quantify. By way of example, how many of Len's students are here today? Can you please stand? Stand up. Help me. Len, take a look. Take a look. Stay up. You too, Judge. You taught us, Len. Len, this is a small portion of your legacy. You taught us that there are no original thoughts, that tennis is a sport worth playing, both lefty and righty, that a brilliant but soft voice carries enormous power. You taught us how to use our skills to make the world a better place, and you inspired us to do so. So let me reference an old maxim, since it's your bar mitzvah. Lador vador. Lador vador in Hebrew means from generation to generation. It represents the value of continuity, emphasizing the responsibility to pass down traditions, history, knowledge, values from ancestors to descendants. Len, these are your descendants. Got one more and I'm going to make it. We carry the lessons that you taught us, the history, the questions, the values, and the principles. We bring your teachings into everything we do. Your reach is extraordinary, your impact boundless. You've been an inspiration to us all, and we are all so very grateful to you. So thank you for sharing your wit and your wisdom with us. I say this on behalf of those here, the thousands of Northwestern students who have had the privilege of learning from I'm Just Len. Next, let me introduce Judge Jeff Cummings.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my greatest honor to be here for Len, and it's been very nice to see so many of the folks that I went to school with and friends that I've met over the years coming back, and it's really all a tribute to you, Len. You know, when he first told me he was retiring, I said, that can't be right. In my eyes, he's always been here, and he's always been here as long as I've been here, and he still looks the same, and he sounds the same, and this isn't right. But then I thought, well, I got out of here 39 years ago, and he got here before me, so I considered his sentence as commuted. Professor, you're free to retire. But he will truly be missed, and I got to tell you, his impact has been enormous. As I thought about today, I thought he really was a person to help me feel like this school was home to me. When I first got here, I didn't know what I'd gotten myself into, actually. I was kind of like a fish out of water. I knew that the lure of big law it's beautiful, but I knew it wasn't really for me. And most of my classmates seemed to be gravitating toward that direction, so I was really wasn't sure about things. But I got to know Lynn, and I saw that he's a person that he gave me a vision of a broader conception of what a legal career could be. I also learned that we had many things in common. He's a public policy person. He's always cared about civil rights and looking out for those folks who don't have power, communities of color, low-income communities, and that was my major in college. And so we kind of had a kindred spirits, so to speak, in that way. And one of my favorite jobs I've had in life was working for him as a fellow, one of his fellows, and I did some research on an article he was working on majority black law schools, and I was really like, I would do this for free. I mean, it was so interesting to me. It was right up my alley. Thank goodness he paid me, though, because he saved my butt. I was a little short on funds at that time, but that was really one of the best jobs I've ever had. One of the things I love about Lynn is his optimism and positivity. I mean, I can't tell you how many of those little tennis ball notes I've gotten over the years. And I'll tell you, the next bad day I see that he has will be the first bad day I've ever seen him have. Maybe he's had some bad days, but this is a man who exudes optimism, and his spirit is energizing. I could go on forever about him, but I will just say one more quality that I really admire about him, which is he has the ability to look at a person, look inside a person, and see some qualities or capabilities in them that they do not see in themselves. Maybe that's happened with some of you. It certainly happened with me. One day we were talking, and he said, well, have you ever thought about being a law clerk? And it may seem funny to you all, given what I'm doing now, but I was like, what's a law clerk? And he kind of explained it to me, and I said, okay, that sounds like it might be interesting. So he gave me a list of judges, not a super long list, and he is an optimist. So some of the names on that list, I applied to some of them and got a very polite rejection letter. I still have one from RBG when she was on the DC circuit. I saved that one. But fortunately, there was a judge here, Judge Ann Claire Williams, that took a chance on me, and I became her law clerk. And really, that was the best move I could have made out of law school. And it kind of launched me to where I am now, thanks to Lynn. I mean, he's always been there for me, and I'm sure he's always been there for you. And I'll just wrap up by saying this. Thank you for being you, Lynn. You're the best. Congratulations. So our next speaker will be April Guevara Espinosa, another grad. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. My name is April Guevara Espinosa. I work at a law and policy center called Impact for Equity. This organization was formerly called BPI. We have long been part of this landmark housing desegregation case called Gautreaux v. Chicago Housing Authority. I've recently learned that Len worked very closely with my organization and our former executive director, Alex Polikoff, on Gautreaux when he first started at Northwestern in 1972. I share this because now, 54 years later, I am the Polikoff-Gautreaux Fellow. This fellowship is Impact for Equity's way of honoring that history, and I'm so proud to be even a small part of this rich public interest legacy that you and Alex began. This time last year, I graduated from Northwestern. I had the privilege of Len's guidance all 3 years, and I mean start to finish. I don't think I ever told you this story, Len, but during orientation week, I introduced myself after a panel right here in Thorne. And I said to him, very bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, "Hi, Professor Rubinowitz. I'm April. I heard you're the one person I need to talk to if I'm interested in public interest, so I will be in your class in the spring." And Len responds in the way that he does. "Hi, April. Call me Len. Guess I'll see you in spring." And that he did, and he never got rid of me. I didn't only take the staple 1L class, Law and Social Change. I actually researched for him that summer. I took another class 2L year, and then I researched for him again my 3L year. And if you took any of Len's classes, you have 100% heard his monologue about how one class makes you a victim, 2, a recidivist. So I was like, what does that say for someone who stuck around for all 3 years? I have to come up with my own name. And I've decided to call myself a lifer. Which is ironic since my career is dedicated to reducing the prison population. But, oh really, Len, you always had an open door, soft words of encouragement, and a strong belief in me. You gave that to generations of public interest students. And trust me, they needed it, or at least I know I did. And I know I can speak for all the self-proclaimed Len lifers in the room when I say that you are the institution. Your impact is so grand, and your legacy will live on and on. Thank you. And thank you. On that note, my fellow LOSA alumni would like to say a few words.
So, the 3 of us are here on behalf of the LANX Law students and alumni, and we want to give you a piece of us that you can always have with you. This plaque is on behalf of the hundreds of Latino students and alumni of all programs, JDs, JD MBAs, JD PhDs, MSLs, LLMs of different kinds. And we want to thank you for your commitment to social change, to equity, and to uplifting the voices of the members of our community, probably at the most crucial of times like now. And we are incredibly grateful, but your impact extends way past our community. We're like a little drop of water. So, in the plaque, we included the following words written by, because I have to give him credit, Fernando Rojas from the class of 1999, that says, "For a lifetime of inspiring minds, championing public interest law, and building a lasting legacy of mentorship and service, your guidance has shaped not only careers, but our lives." So thank you, Len. We just want you to have this little piece.
Okay. And please welcome Andy Gordon to the stage.
Are we going to be heard here? Well, can you hear me? Sheldon started out with a poll to see how many students were here. I'd like to start out with a poll as well. How many of you have played competitive tennis against Arthur Ashe? There's a lesson in that really is a consistent theme for me through everything I could say and what I have time for. It's both performing at that high level and his being so modest about it that very few of you knew that. His modesty through high levels of performance at so many areas is not only remarkable, but I think almost unique. Most important I have a list here of the many people who have been impacted by him, some of whom I've written to, and I'm not going to have time to read what they said. But I will say of one, a named professor, she said she is so bummed not to be here, but she's only here because she's giving awards tonight to students who, as a second generation from her, have been impacted by the work on social justice that never would have occurred to her to make a career out of had it not been for Len Rubinowitz. So you're not the only legacies. There are many other legacies to think about. You may not know this. Is it any wonder that Sambo Siddiqui, the first Muslim mayor of Cambridge, Massachusetts, who's now serving her third term, is actually the first Muslim mayor ever in the state of Massachusetts, has issued a special proclamation to name today the Professor Leonard Rubinowitz Day in the city of Cambridge. She was a student here. She's citing her lifelong commitment, his lifelong commitment to civil rights and justice, in addition to his contributions as scholar, teacher, and mentor. Is it a wonder that she, a Muslim who grew up in public housing in Cambridge, singled out her Jewish professor for this special honor in recognition of his commitment to improving public housing and the rights of the marginalized? Is it any wonder that Nikki Lee, a phenomenally successful pop singer from South Korea, after deciding to come to enroll in the law school here, has flown in for this occasion from Seoul, Korea? Is it perplexing that Nikki Lee, who decided to focus at Northwestern on international human rights law, has flown in specifically for this occasion, and that these are examples of the enduring affection for Len and what he taught that seems remarkable only to those who don't know of the impact Len has had on students? There's students, so many of you, who have benefited from the fact that he's still teaching. But there's a downside too. Do you know about the couple who, when they were 94 and 95 years old, announced that they were getting divorced? People were stunned after all those years of happy marriage. And they said, no, we haven't gotten along for 50 years. But we decided that we were going to stay together until the children were dead. I have a list here of people who I guarantee would be here were they still with us. Al Polikoff, Ron Kennedy, Don Clark Netsch, Margot Gordon, John McKnight, Victor Rosenblum, Dorothy Control, Vera Lockman, Charles Miller, Stephen Whitman. I think Len considers himself a legacy of these people, but they too are his legacy. There was a woman who died in Seattle, where I am now, who was an enormous contributor to the university and to the community. There was a wonderful memorial after which somebody got up at the reception and said, I was her best friend. She talked a bit. And the next person got up and said, no, I was her best friend. And the next person got up and said, wait a minute, I was her best friend. That went on for a while until it seemed foolish. I am here to say, I was Len's best friend. And I expect there are many of you who would make the same statement. Thank you, Len. Len Rubinowitz.
I have always believed that eulogies should be given when the dearly departed is not actually departed. It's a wonderful gift to hear the thoughts about me from people that I care so much about. Many thanks to each of you. I want to talk about some of the gifts that have made this half-century experience here so much greater than what I could have imagined it would be on day one, 1975. I start with the gift of freedom that made it possible for me to change jobs without changing jobs. I started as a housing person, writing 2 books, one co-authored, and a series of articles on issues of race and class and housing. I taught courses on public housing, housing segregation, urban redevelopment. More recently, I have turned to civil rights legal history, writing articles that will be the basis for my current project, a book on Martin Luther King's lawyers, 80 or more of them who served him and the many movements he was involved in. The subject, the lawyers, is a subject that has hardly been touched on by biographers or King himself. And I've been teaching a seminar on civil rights lawyering for several years. One constant through all of this teaching has been the Law and Social Change course, which I started teaching in the late 1970s and stopped teaching a few weeks ago. It's hard for me to give it up because the issues are so deeply important to me. Also because I enjoy so much the interaction with students, which is different every year. And also because for so many of you, it has been my first connection to you in that course. I am so grateful that the tradition of the Law and Social Change course will continue. It started in the 1950s, and I was the 4th one to teach the course. And it will now be carried on by Paul Gowder, an extraordinary colleague. It will be in extremely good hands with the generations of students that come along that will help them remember why they wanted to go to law school. Then there is the gift of scholarly accomplishments, co-authors, research assistants, readers, reviewers, with administrative support from a series of wonderful faculty assistants and research librarians. Each of them has added to the pleasure of the work and the quality of the result. I turn to the gift of visitors. Many years ago, a voice spoke to me about my office door and said, "If you open it, they will come." A steady flow of students, present, past, prospective, and of colleagues, past and present, especially my neighbors on the third floor of Rubloff, whose combined service to the law school is well over 200 years. Not to mention the colleagues of mine who were students of mine before. Some visitors have asked, could we talk about serious personal problems? The answer is, of course. And it also was a great pleasure for me because that meant there was a level of trust that I valued very highly. And in the process, I learned to keep a box of Kleenex handy, just in case. Then there is the gift of good surprises. There have been a great many more than I could possibly talk about, but I want to talk about two big ones and one little one. Both of the big ones took place during the early 1990s. They are very different from each other, but in some ways not so much, you can think about it. The first can be told best by a very short video. I hesitated to show it because it's a campaign video, and here we are in election season again. But Steve Paffrath, who lives in Sacramento, is a storyteller, told it much better than I could. The video, please.
I moved to Chicago in the late 70s. At the same time, I was just starting to find out what it meant to be a gay man. I wanted to be an advocate. It led me to go to law school. We discussed a Supreme Court case for hours in the hardware. There was a lot of talk in the class about it, but they kept referring to homosexuals. So I raised my hand and said, first of all, we like you. That was the moment I was publicly coming out in my new career, and there was no going back. I sat there and everybody got up like it was nothing, and then there was this tug on my shirt, and this person reached over and said, "Hi, I'm J.D. Pritzker." That was one of the gutsiest statements I've ever seen. He was a complete stranger to me. I saw him, but I had no idea who that person was. That was our first conversation. I met my future husband, Dale, second semester of my last year of law school. You hear now and then about people having gay weddings, but it was not something that was commonplace at the time. But we knew JB and JB committed to us. They gave us their home for what turned out to be a ceremony for about 150 people. That was so progressive. That was so outside the norm. We took one thing from the Quakers. They, at the end of ceremonies, have the congregation sign a document that they witnessed the marriage. Right up at the top, there's JB and MK's signature. What I would say to the gay, lesbian, bi, transgender people in Illinois is we could not have a better ally than JB Pritzker.
Steve Paffrath had been deeply closeted for many years, and he had no idea how students around him at Northwestern Law School were going to react. Changed. On to the second surprise from the early 1990s. In early February one year, I got a call from someone named Mark. He said he was in Ohio, but he was coming to Chicago. He said his girlfriend, Linda, was in my law and social change class. And what he wanted to do was to come to the class on Valentine's Day, you got it, and proposed to Linda. Well, after I got up off the floor, I did two things. First, I suggested a plan. The class was in RB 140. For those who don't know it, the only doors to the room are in the back. So it was possible for him to come in to the back of the room very quietly. And that was the plan, to come in very quietly in the last few minutes of the class, and then I would call on him. The other thing I told him during that phone call was, if it didn't work out, it was not my responsibility. If it turned into a disaster, so be it. So when he followed the directions, he came into the room very quietly, standing in the back of the room, and raised his hand. And I called on him. Mark, did you have a question? Yes, I have a question for Linda. Will you marry me? A few seconds of complete silence until the class realized what had just happened before their very eyes. The place went up for grabs, and I dismissed the class. Now, I have very good evidence that Linda said yes. I had their son Jared in long social change last year. The third good surprise, a much more recent vintage. It happened a few years ago in the atrium after the convocation, reception after the convocation that year. The father of one of the graduates came over to me and said that his daughter told him about something that I did on the first day of class in the course. He asked me whether I would do that for him. So I told him that I would write on the whiteboard, Mr. Rubinowitz is my father, and then I would tell them that the long version is, Mr. Rubinowitz is my father, Dr. Rubinowitz is my wife, and Professor Rubinowitz is my daughter. I am Len. He smiled, thanked me, and he walked off. As I thought about that interaction a little later, I concluded that if that was the big takeaway from the course, his daughter was probably entitled to a tuition refund. A brief tangent, those who know me know tangents are my thing. I got a congratulatory email the other day from a 1980 graduate. It was addressed to Len, Mr. Rubinowitz is my father. It's a reminder that when you do ridiculous things, they may be remembered. I suppose the same could be said about sending people tennis balls. But I believe that was a more constructive move on my part. If you don't know what I'm talking about, two suggestions. One is ask your neighbor. And the other is take a look around when you go over in the reception, and there will be tennis balls scattered around to be taken. First come, first serve. You're free to take them as a souvenir. Then there's the gift of family, without which none of this would have happened. My life partner, my wife Linda, some of you know her as Dr. Rubinowitz. She has supported me in ways that would be much too long a list to talk about. Our daughter, Edie, some of you know her as Professor Rubinowitz, had the good judgment to live 10 minutes away from us in Evanston with her husband, our son-in-law, Scott Fouts, and their kiddo, our grandkid, May. We always end, anytime the five of us sit together, with a group hug, a vivid reminder of how important our group is to us. And I'm delighted that our niece and grandniece, Rachel, and Allie from Colorado, could be here with us today as well. There is the gift of your presence. And those who wish they could come sent me emails, but were not able to make it. And those who sent me such thoughtful, appreciative, congratulatory emails, messages of various kinds. The real gift, the most important, that's very important. I don't want to deny that. But the real gift from all of you is having you in my life during this past half century. It's extraordinary. The final gift is the incredible work that went into putting this event together. It may not take a village, but it takes a whole committee spending a whole lot of time and energy putting all of these pieces of the puzzle together. My thanks go out to all of them. In academia, we have this status thing called emeritus. I think it's Latin for no more pay. I will conclude my remarks with my new mantra. I am retiring, but I am not leaving. I am retiring, but I am not leaving. Thank you. Now I'm going to welcome an alum named Nikki Lee to the stage. But before I do that, I want to tell you about her. Nikki was a Korean pop star when she came to Chicago as a first-year law student in 2009. I had the great good fortune to have her in class in her first semester. One day she came to my open door. And she claimed that soft, cushy, raggedy chair that some of you know. That was her chair. And she told me she did not quite know how to make sense of the cases she was reading. I should mention, by the way, that she is completely fluent in English, and you will soon see she has no accent. When she asked for advice on how to analyze the cases, I said, be ambidextrous. And she said, what's ambidextrous? The first sign that English was not her first language. So I said, on the one hand and on the other hand. Arguments, counter-arguments, majority opinions, reasoning in majority opinions, reasoning in dissenting opinions. The song that she is about to sing is called Both Sides Now. Some of you may know Joni Mitchell, singer-songwriter who wrote that song. And if you listen really carefully to the lyrics, you may find a connection between that song and this incident from more than 15 years ago. I invite. Nikki Lee.
Hello, everybody. It's when Len told me he was retiring, I wrote him back, and the first words I said was, "I'm so emotional." I think I speak for so many people. We heard so many wonderful speakers today, just showing how much he meant to all of us. And I know we don't have that much time, and I don't want to be the last person standing between the drinks. So I'll make this brief, but I did want to say that a couple years ago, I had the good fortune of joining a legal media organization in Korea who wanted me to report and write about legal issues here in the United States, which is a very important and interesting perspective to have. And I suggested to them that I wanted to interview people who I thought had meaningful and really insightful things to say. And the very first person I called was Len. And so I came here to Chicago to have a conversation with him. And something that stuck in my mind was he said that social change happens slowly, one day at a time. And after my conversation and looking back at the 16 years that I've had the good fortune of knowing Len, more than that actually, I just realized that Len has actually been changing the world one student at a time. And I think that was so evident today, and I'm getting emotional again just saying this. I'm an artist, you have to just forgive me. And so Len mentioned this song, Both Sides Now. This is one of my favorites, and I figured out that it was one of Len's too. This is a song about, illusion and love, and what is love? Is it a show? What is life? And realizing that life is a mystery at the end, and if you listen to the lyrics, yes, it has the both sides theme to it. But what I gather from it is we won't know what it actually means, and I think that stands true to all of us, no matter where we are in our lives. But one thing that I do really believe is that I feel like I've learned what a good life is from knowing you. So congratulations. And I don't know why I'm crying right now. So here is the song, and just a little housekeeping note. I have a cheat sheet. I did not want to be the one to mess up the song by getting the lyrics wrong, and I have a very young child, so I don't have much time to memorize things these days. So, in keeping with law school tradition, this will be open book. Rows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's clouds' illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the daisy dancing way you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave them laughing when you go, and if care. Don't let him know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked at life that way. But now old friends, they're acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life. I've looked at life from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all. Congratulations.
That was wonderful. Thank you. A tough act to follow, although really all of those speeches are a tough act to follow. I just want to conclude this portion of the event tonight with an enormous thank you to everyone who's come out today to honor our friend and colleague, Len Rubinowitz. Thank you all for coming. I hope you will continue to celebrate with us and with Len in the atrium. And I think I will end with Cindy Wilson's 3 words, be like Len. Thanks, everybody.